Good morning everybody, guess where we are today? We are in King's Cross. Yes, the more gentrified part of King's Cross that's since been rebuilt with all the tech offices and gymnasiums and bars and restaurants and stuff. So yes, we are in King's Cross, about to head back to Wandsworth Garage on board RM 371. This lovely open top Routemaster bus. There's St Pancras station over there in the background. There's King's Cross station over there on the just behind the windows there and all that sort of thing, and there's St Pancras station, well, the modern part of St Pancras anyway. So yeah, we're leaving King's Cross, St Pancras, on our way back to Wandsworth Garage on this beautiful evening in June 2025, and we've just dropped off a corporate group of passengers from a corporate hire for Google and YouTube. Google having their head office just around the corner here in King's Cross, so it was a perfect place for them to all get dropped off. So now we're turning left underneath St Pancras station, through the tunnels underneath St Pancras station, so we've got all the platforms at St Pancras station just above for the train services out to Derby and Leicester and Nottingham and Sheffield, as well as the Eurostar services out to Paris, Brussels and Amsterdam, and of course the Javelin services that go out to the Kent coast via HS1. Over there on the right hand side, that ugly looking building behind the streetlights, that is of course the British Library, which has got lots of books and manuscripts and all that sort of thing. So that's the British Library just here in all its sort of post-millennium ugly glory, if you can call it glory. Just stopping at this zebra crossing to allow a pedestrian to cross and to allow a few more pedestrians to cross. There they go. Abbey Road this certainly isn't, but you get the drift with that. So that's the original St Pancras station building on the left hand side there, with the train shed built and designed by William Barlow for the Midland Railway. So all this buildings on the left hand side, that is the original St Pancras station buildings, which were actually once threatened with demolition back in the early 70s had it not been for the poet laureate Sir John Betjeman, who campaigned tirelessly to save these buildings. And it was thanks to Sir John Betjeman that these fine buildings have remained as they are. And of course in 2007 they got a new lease of life when the Eurostar terminal was relocated here from Waterloo on the other side of the river. So yeah, there's St Pancras station, there's the buildings there. Do excuse the street lights because they're all LED street lights and I can't stand them. Can't stand LED street lights, they just go everywhere nowadays. Anyway, we're at the bottom of Midland Road, so about to turn onto the Euston Road straight ahead in front of us. And the reason why it's called Midland Road is because this street sign here says Midland Road, obviously. So the lights have now turned to green, so we should be turning left onto the Euston Road. Are we turning left? Yes we are. We're turning left onto Euston Road, past the southern entrance to St Pancras station on the left hand side, along with the Midland Hotel and the iconic clock tower of St Pancras station, which we should be able to get a glimpse of behind these London plane trees. There we go, there's the clock tower. Woo! There's the famous clock tower of St Pancras station there, with the time coming up to 10:20. There's King's Cross station there on the left hand side, the poor man's counterpart to St Pancras, where King's Cross station is host to train services from Edinburgh, Newcastle, York and other places. There's actually a live band taking place here at King's Cross tonight. And of course King's Cross being home to platform 9 3/4, as immortalised in the Harry Potter film Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And of course we've got the famous wall where Harry Potter brings his luggage trolley and his owl through in the film, and where you get all the Harry Potter fanatics trying to do the same thing but without getting through the wall. But it makes for a good photo opportunity nonetheless. Now on the left hand side we've got a bus on Route 91 that's going out to Crouch End via Holloway and Hornsey, etc. We're going straight on towards the Angel, Islington Angel. So this way we're heading eastwards. We're going straight on towards Islington Angel. And if you go up that way, that takes you towards Holloway and Camden, etc. There's the famous Scala Cinema, King's Cross Scala Cinema, with its famous lighthouse cupola. Famous lighthouse cupola on the top of the Scala Cinema. So this is King's Cross. And just on the right, that used to be the site of King's Cross Thameslink railway station, which closed in 2010, I think it was, when the St Pancras low-level station opened. So yeah, this is King's Cross in all its scenic majesty. I think we're going to be turning right at this junction towards the Gray's Inn Road. Instead of going all the way towards Islington, we're actually going to be turning right towards Clerkenwell, which suits me fine once these traffic lights change to green. Here we go, they're changing to green right now. So yes, we're heading towards Clerkenwell, heading along King's Cross Road. Hope everyone's keeping well, hope everyone's keeping out of mischief and stuff. I've been doing good so far. Had a bit of a break from social media recently. Had a trip down to the Isle of Wight. Part of me wishes I was still down there. Getting a bit of fresh sea air down in Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight. Ah, such a world away from London, an absolute world away from London. And I needed that. I needed to get out of London, otherwise I was going to go stir crazy. I really was going to go stir crazy. That's why I thought, no, get on the train, go to Portsmouth, go to the Isle of Wight, get the hovercraft, get out of London for a couple of days, and I'll tell you what, it did me the power of good. It really, really did. So here we are, we're now heading south along the Gray's Inn Road. One of the buses on Route 63 passing us on the other side there, from Honor Road to King's Cross. Do excuse the shaky camera work along here because there's a lot of potholes and bumps on the road. So this is I think this is the Gray's Inn Road, who knows, I think it is. Anywhere north of the River Thames is completely alien territory to me, as you probably know. But I digress. So yeah, I had a nice time carrying these clients on board RM371 on a corporate hire from King's Cross out to Kensington, well, Holland Park area. Oh, we're on the Farringdon Road. This isn't the Gray's Inn Road, this is the Farringdon Road. My humble mistake. Coming up on the right hand side is Mount Pleasant, which is London's busiest Royal Mail sorting office, delivery office. Big up all the postmen and women who work there. So yeah, that's Mount Pleasant Royal Mail sorting and delivery office. One of the busiest Royal Mail sorting offices in London and probably in the country, I believe. So we're on the Farringdon Road, not Gray's Inn Road, Farringdon Road, heading south. We're crossing over Rosebery Avenue at this junction, so we're going straight on. Rosebery Avenue crosses from east to west along here, so if you go down that way, that takes you towards Islington and Hackney. We've got a 341 crossing over, about to make the right turn towards Northumberland Park, HV 364 there. I've got another 63 down for King's Cross, and that's the site of the old Clerkenwell fire station. That building behind a tree there, that used to be Clerkenwell fire station. Oh, we're actually turning right into Rosebery Avenue itself, towards Holborn. So that's the old Clerkenwell fire station, one of the few fire stations which were closed back in 2014 when Boris Johnson was the Mayor of London. And as we all know, he was a prick then and he's still a prick now. But hey, I digress. Don't get me started on politics because I never stop. Anyway, this is Rosebery Avenue, so we're heading southwesterly along Rosebery Avenue, where this street was actually served by trams, would you believe, up until 1952, where you had the cross London tram routes 31, 33 and 35, which travelled through the Kingsway subway. And we've got a bus on Route 17 which is on diversion, bound for Archway. 17s normally go up the Gray's Inn Road. So there's some roadworks or whatever going on along the Gray's Inn Road, because the 17 does not go along Rosebery Avenue, it goes on the Gray's Inn Road. But we do have a bus on Route 19. Route 19 always goes along here, along Rosebery Avenue. So that's an LT on Route 19 bound for Crappy Rubsniff, all the way from Battersea Bridge to Crappy Rubsniff, or Finsbury Park if you want to be clever. So this is the bottom end of Rosebery Avenue, where it joins Theobald's Road towards Holborn. So at this junction we're going to be turning at the right towards the direction of Holborn itself. This beautiful summer's evening in June 2005. Had a beautiful sunset earlier on as we left Kensington. So now we're heading back to Wandsworth Bus Garage. Our driver for the night is the one and only young Dan, who's recently graduated from a conductor into a driver with Londoner buses and London Bus for Hire. So now we're on Theobald's Road, about to head west as the lights change to green. Got a couple of buses on Route 38 bound for Clapton Pond, travelling from Victoria to Clapton Pond on the iconic Route 38. Route 38 which lost its route masters 20 years ago in October. At the end of October 2005 was when Route 38 said farewell to its route masters. I should know because I was there, taking pictures and having a few farewell rides, and back then I was still using my film camera, because as you all know I didn't go digital until 2013. I left it a bit late, but sometimes in life there's method to my madness. Now we're heading west along Theobald's Road. Coming up on the right hand side, this ugly looking building behind a tree on the right hand side, that's Holborn Police Station. One of the few police stations in London which is still a 24-hour police station, which still has a front counter I believe, where you can report a crime or a lost dog or whatever you wish to report. So yes, I've got RM 371 all to myself on this lovely evening, so I hope you enjoy this vlog. It's going to be a little while. It's going to be hopefully a long vlog, a decently long vlog, because I like to make my vlogs interesting if I can. And judging from some of your comments and stuff on YouTube, it seems that they've been very well received by everyone, so all I can say is I'm glad you enjoy watching them as much as I have been making them and putting them all together. So we're now coming up to the one-way system in Holborn itself, so we're about to turn left into Proctor Street. Proctor Street coming along in the 1960s when this area of Holborn got redeveloped. On the left hand side that's Red Lion Square, and on the far left in the distance there, that is where we used to have our lots meetings at Conway Hall. Although lots no longer have their meetings in Conway Hall anymore, because apparently they couldn't cope with all the dandruff on the floor. Now we're coming up to this junction with High Holborn, so we'll be turning right once the traffic lights change to green. At this junction up ahead, if you turn left, that takes you towards the City of London. So if you turn left, that takes you towards the City and the Bank of England, but we're heading right towards, hopefully towards the likes of Kingsway and Waterloo Bridge. So as you can see, RM 371, that's the view looking towards the back end of the bus. As you can see, it's a beautiful summer's evening, and I have got the top deck of RM 371 all to myself. So I'm not moaning in the slightest. The only thing I moan about is sometimes the red lights take forever to change. Like here for example. And mark my words, Holborn's one of those places I don't really have much affection for in London, to be honest. Some people nowadays, they refer to it as mid-town. Talk about polishing a turd. To me it will be Holborn and always will be called Holborn. Okay, lights are changing to green. Finally. Red traffic lights and rail replacement buses, as you know, are the bane of my life. I absolutely hate them. So now we're coming up to the junction with Holborn itself. So you've got the Kingsway coming off on the left. You've got Holborn Underground Station just on the left hand side here. Holborn Underground Station, that's served by the Central Line and the Piccadilly line of the London Underground. And that's the only interchange between the Central Line and the Piccadilly line on the Underground. Because in West London the Piccadilly line goes over the Central Line at Park Royal, North Acton Park Royal area. But there's no interchange. The only interchange between the Central Line and the Piccadilly line is here at Holborn Station. So we're now going to make the tight left turn from High Holborn into Kingsway. So we're in Kingsway, passing the site of the entrance to the former Kingsway tram subway, which was closed in April 1952. So directly underneath here, underneath Kingsway, is what's left of the former Kingsway tram subway, which was built in 1906. Got a stupid tuk-tuk driver there, driving on the wrong side of the road. The sooner those things get de-licensed, the better. Those things are an absolute menace. I hate them. So yeah, going back to the Kingsway subway, it was opened in 1906 by the London County Council for single-deck trams, and it was deepened in 1930 for double-deck trams to pass through. And then in 1933 the Kingsway subway passed its ownership to the London Passenger Transport Board, or London Transport, and it remained in use for double-deck trams to pass through on routes 31, 33 and 35 until the subway closed in 1952. Now straight ahead, this impressive looking building, that's Bush House, which was originally part of the BBC buildings. So that's Bush House. So this is Aldwych coming up on the bottom here. So if you turn left at this junction, that's Aldwych, that takes you towards Fleet Street and the city. And if you turn right at this junction where we'll be going, that's Aldwych, that will take you towards Strand and Trafalgar Square and Waterloo Bridge. So hopefully at this junction we'll be turning right towards the direction of Waterloo Bridge, where we hopefully might get to see a Waterloo sunset, to quote the Kinks. One of the Kinks' greatest hits back in 1967. Okay, we've got the green lights, so hopefully we'll be turning right at this junction, which I think we will. So if you head down that way, that takes you towards the city. And we're heading westwards along Aldwych towards Waterloo Bridge and the Strand. Now coming up on the left, this building here, this is the Indian High Commission. So this is the Indian Embassy, or the Indian High Commission there. Always guarded by 2 police officers, following recent events in India and Pakistan and all the political turmoil that's going on in those countries. On the right hand side we have a bus on Route 26 bound for Hackney Wick, one of the Stagecoach electric Enviro 400 city vehicles. And on the left hand side we've got a bus on Route 1 bound for New Cross and the like. Also coming up on the right hand side is the Novella Theatre, where they're showing Mamma Mia, which is the musical based on the songs of ABBA. So there's Mamma Mia at the Novello Theatre. So we're coming towards Covent Garden now, home to Theatreland as well as the London Transport Museum and the famous Covent Garden Piazza. So we're going to go onto the left hand lane towards Waterloo Bridge. So I'll just show you this view, sweeping view of Aldwych, looking towards the Novella Theatre. where they're showing Mamma Mia. And that's the Strand over there. But where we're going to be going, we're going to be turning left at this traffic light junction onto Waterloo Bridge. There we are, we've got the green arrow, which means we can legally turn left at this junction as we head into Lancaster Place. So this is Lancaster Place, and we have Somerset House on the left hand side. These fine buildings over here, that's Somerset House. So about to cross over the River Thames on Waterloo Bridge, affectionately known as the Ladies' Bridge, as it was built in 1943 by a workforce which was mostly made up of women, because all the men were out fighting for king and country in World War II. So we're crossing over Waterloo Bridge. Over there, as you can see, there's the City of London. You can just see the dome of St Paul's Cathedral in the middle of the video there. That's St Paul's Cathedral, along with all the office blocks and all the commercial side of the city. There's one of the Thames Clipper pleasure boats over there sailing off towards the city. And then on the other side we've got the London Eye and the Houses of Parliament. You can just see the Elizabeth Tower just to the right of the London Eye there, which houses Big Ben. So there's the South Bank straight ahead. There's the London Eye, which is all decked out in a nice purple colour tonight. And we've got the Royal Festival Hall on the right hand side, and over on the left hand side we've got the National Theatre in all its 1960s brutalist prowess. So there's the National Theatre down there, along with the South Bank. So we're coming into Waterloo now, and this white coloured building straight in front of us, that's the IMAX cinema, which has a surround screen, one of the famous icons of the South Bank, the IMAX cinema, on its own little roundabout in the middle of the road. So that's the IMAX cinema coming up in front of us now, where we travel round it. The BFI IMAX, to give it its official title. Now on the left hand side, that road there, that's Stamford Street. That takes you towards Southwark and Bermondsey. Straight in front of us there's Waterloo Station, built by the London and South Western Railway in 1848, and it was rebuilt in 1924. So we're going to go past Waterloo Station in a little while. We've got Boris Master there on Route 59, bound for Smithfield, and we've got some trains crossing the bridge. One of the former South Western Railway Class 707 units there, going towards Charing Cross from Waterloo East. So we're going under the railway line here onto York Road, and very shortly I'll just point you out towards the main entrance to Waterloo Station. There it is over there, famous Victory Arch entrance to Waterloo Station, and it's got all the names of all the London and South Western Railway staff who lost their lives during the First World War. We've got a list of all those who gave their all for king and country between 1914 and the 1918, hence the name of the arch being called the Victory Arch. Also coming up on the right hand side, we'll see the London Eye in more detail. There's the London Eye, there it is. There's the main entrance to the London Eye. London Eye, which has got 32 capsules or 32 pods. Now the reason why it's got 32 capsules is because there's 32 different London boroughs which make up the whole of the Greater London area. So that's why the London Eye has got 32 pods. And it's also interesting because it doesn't have a capsule numbered 13, because when the London Eye was designed in 1999, the team who designed it were superstitious. So they have got capsules, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 14, 15, 16 onwards. There's no capsule 13. Because the team who designed the London Eye back in 1999 were superstitious. And the London Eye was only supposed to be a temporary addition to the South Bank. It was only supposed to be there for about 2 years or something, but it was so popular that it became a permanent fixture on the South Bank, and it's become one of London's best-selling tourist attractions. Now on the right hand side, that's St Thomas's Hospital, London's most central hospital, which was rebuilt in the 1960s and 70s, and it was at that hospital where a young lady by the name of Florence Nightingale began her career as a nurse back in the 1800s. And there's actually a museum that is dedicated to Florence Nightingale and her nursing career within the grounds of St Thomas's Hospital. Florence Nightingale affectionately being nicknamed the Lady with the Lamp, where she served as a nurse during the Crimean War, attending to all the sick casualties and the sick soldiers during the Crimean War. And this building coming up just behind the trees, this is actually part of the original buildings of St Thomas's Hospital. Now on the left hand side, this is Lambeth Palace Road, so on the left hand side behind these trees is Lambeth Palace itself. Now Lambeth Palace is the London residence of the Archbishop of Canterbury. And also coming up on the right hand side behind these trees, you can just see it, there's Lambeth Bridge, one of the 20 river bridges which cross over the River Thames. So this is Lambeth Palace just here on the left hand side. We'll pass it in more detail. So there's Lambeth Palace there. So that's Lambeth Palace. I'll just show it to you. There we are, Lambeth Palace, which is the home of the London home of the Archbishop of Canterbury. And just there on the right hand side, that's Lambeth Bridge, which connects Lambeth with Victoria and Horseferry Road. Also on the other side of Lambeth Bridge, I'll just zoom in a bit. That building on the other side of Lambeth Bridge with all the lights on, that is the MI5 headquarters. And very shortly we shall be passing the MI6 headquarters in Vauxhall. Now Lambeth Bridge originally was built as a suspension bridge, and you can just see those two concrete columns there in the middle of the screen. That is all that remains of the former suspension bridge when Lambeth Bridge was built as a suspension bridge before it got replaced by the bridge that you've got there in the 1920s. So now we're heading into Albert Embankment. So this road that we're coming into now, this is Albert Embankment. As you can see straight ahead over there is the River Thames. Very shortly we'll be passing Lambeth Fire Station, which was originally the headquarters of the London Fire Brigade until they moved in 2014. So this building, this Art Deco building on the left hand side, this was originally the headquarters of the London Fire Brigade. And it's still used as a fire station with the London Fire Brigade, but it's no longer the headquarters of the London Fire Brigade because the headquarters of the London Fire Brigade moved to Southwark in a more modern premises. But as you can see, this fine Art Deco building, it's still in use as a fire station to this day. And it's got some lovely Art Deco sculptures of the firefighters doing the three main aspects that firefighting does: kill the flames, save lives and rescue people, rescue everybody. And all our firefighters, they deserve my respect anyway for all the work they do. And as we all know, every firefighter should come home safe and sound at the end of their shift. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Firefighters do die in the course of their duty, but hopefully every firefighter should return home safe and sound. Now on the left hand side is this pub here, one of the many pubs in this part of Vauxhall. Also on the left hand side we've got the South Western main line from London Waterloo towards Vauxhall and Wimbledon and Clapham Junction, etc. So we're now coming up to the district of London, which is Vauxhall, where we'll be passing the MI6 headquarters on the right hand side, which is Thames House, which has featured in a few James Bond films such as GoldenEye. And for a building that's supposed to be top secret, it's well, they couldn't have made it more noticeable, could they? So this is the MI6 building here, MI6 headquarters, Thames House in all its 1990s splendour. And it's a top security building, so it's got sort of bulletproof and bomb-proof windows and two-way mirrors and all that sort of thing. Home to all the spooks and spookettes that work within there, so they'll be back in work tomorrow on their computers and monitors and stuff, and satellite dishes monitoring all the airwaves and traffic for any terrorist threats that this country may have from abroad. So this is the southern end of Albert Embankment. Coming up towards Vauxhall Cross, which is this junction just a bit further ahead where the traffic lights are, where you'll get to see Vauxhall bus station, which was opened in December 2004. And it looks like a giant aircraft carrier where you've got the two prongs on the top of the bus station which look like a aircraft carrier, but they actually carry the solar panels, where the solar panels provide the power, electricity and the heating and hot water for the bus station. So that's Vauxhall Cross bus station there, with its two distinctive prongs. So those prongs, on the other side of those prongs, that's the solar panels. So we're now going underneath the southwestern main line out of London Waterloo, underneath Vauxhall railway station. So we're going to be turning right at this junction. If you keep going straight on at this road junction, that takes you towards Kennington and Elephant and Castle. We're going to be turning right at this junction towards Battersea and Nine Elms. Kennington being where Charlie Chaplin was born. So on this view we've got the southwestern main line from Waterloo on the right hand side on that viaduct, and at this next junction we shall be turning right as well, because if you turn left at this junction that takes you towards Brixton and Stockwell. We're going to be turning right, so we're going to go under the railway line once again towards Nine Elms and Battersea. So under the railway line we go again. So that's the southern end of Vauxhall bus station there. We saw it from the northern end a couple of minutes ago. This is the bus station from the southern end. So we're going straight on into Nine Elms Lane. On the left hand side that's Wandsworth Road, that takes you towards Clapham Junction. We're going straight on into Nine Elms Lane towards the likes of Nine Elms and Battersea. Very shortly we'll be passing Battersea Power Station, but more of that in a little while. There's number 1 Vauxhall, this amazing tower block here, which I affectionately refer to as the aerosol can, because during the daytime on the outside it looks like a giant can of hairspray. It looks like a giant aerosol can, so I always refer to that building as the aerosol can because it reminds me of a giant can of hairspray. Those of you who were around in the 1980s will know exactly what I'm referring to. Now coming up shortly on the left hand side we have the American Embassy. So this building here on the left hand side, that's the American or United States Embassy. So that's the American Embassy there with its lights on, so obviously the cleaners are in, or late night staff doing their thing before business hours start again tomorrow at 8 in the morning. So we're heading westwards along Nine Elms Lane. This is Nine Elms Lane. And this street originally had trams running along it until 1950. When the first part of London's tram to bus replacement scheme started back in September 1950, this was the first part of London to say farewell to its tram system. Operation Tramaway, as it was nicknamed. It started in September 1950 and the last of London's trams ran in July 1952. And of course now you've got the modern trams which run in Croydon in the form of the Croydon Tram Link, or the London Tram Link, and that was opened in May 2000, so that system's 25 years old. Who'd have thunk it, 25 years old, and the Tram Link has become a victim of its own success over the past few years. So very shortly we'll be seeing Battersea Power Station. There it is, there's Battersea Power Station, there you go, you've got the chimneys there. There we are, there's the grand old lady of Battersea, along with its famous 4 chimneys. I'll just zoom in a bit, if I can. Can I zoom in? Please let me zoom in. Yeah, there we go. There's Battersea Power Station. Well, it's not Battersea Power Station anymore, it's now a shopping centre, it's a retail facility now. But I always refer to it as the Grand Old Lady of Battersea. And Battersea Power Station was designed and built in 1935 by the architect Giles Gilbert Scott. Now, Giles Gilbert Scott was also the gentleman who designed the iconic red K6 GPO K6 telephone boxes, which some of them can still be found in parts of London and in central London. Coming up on the right hand side, that is Battersea Cats and Dogs Home, or Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. Straight in front of us is the railway bridge, which carries the Kent Main Line tracks from London Victoria towards the likes of Brixton, Dulwich, Herne Hill, Bromley South, etc. So we're shortly coming into Battersea now. So we've got two more railway bridges now as we approach Battersea Park railway station. The arch bridge in the foreground that we're coming up to, that railway line isn't used all that much now. It's only used by about 2 trains a day, which are the London Overground Parliamentary train services. But the green coloured bridge behind that, that is in use regularly by train services from London Victoria travelling out to the likes of Sutton, Croydon, Brighton, Eastbourne and other such exciting places on the south coast. So this brick built bridge here, this doesn't see all that much train services. It only sees about 2 train services a day. So if you're expecting to see a train crossing this bridge, you're going to have a long wait for one. But on the other hand, the bridge just behind, that green coloured iron bridge, that sees trains running every 5 to 10 minutes across it on the main line services and suburban services from London Victoria out towards South London and the South Sussex coast. And just on the right hand side, that building just there, between the 2 bridges, that's Battersea Park railway station. So that's the entrance to Battersea Park railway station, which was originally built by the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway back in the 1860s. And as you can just see, there's a train crossing over the green coloured bridge there, on its way from London Victoria towards Clapham Junction. So it proves my point that that bridge is always used regularly by trains, from the first train of the morning to the last train of the day in the late evenings. As you know, I like trains, but I couldn't eat a whole one. LOLs! So we're about to pass underneath this brick arch bridge, and we're about to pass under the cast iron bridge. So we've got a nice contrast in styles, designs and materials with these 2 railway bridges. So we come to this junction up ahead. This is the junction between Battersea Park Road, which we're travelling on from north to south, east to west, and the traffic crossing up ahead, that's Queenstown Road. So if you turn left at this junction, that takes you towards Clapham Common and Brixton, and if you turn right at this junction, even though you can't turn right because it's a no right turn, but if you turn right, if you were walking right, that takes you towards Chelsea Bridge and Pimlico and Chelsea itself. But we're going straight on through Battersea and onwards towards Wandsworth. We've got a bus on route 137 there, travelling from Oxford Circus all the way down towards Streatham Hill. The 137, that used to have Routemasters on it until July 2004. Just hear the rumble of a train passing over the bridge there behind me. And lo and behold, the traffic lights are green. So we head west along Battersea Park Road. There's Queenstown Road down there, and that takes you towards Clapham and Clapham Common and Brixton and stuff. So this is Battersea Park Road. Battersea being where the late actor Buster Merryfield grew up as a young boy. Buster Merryfield, who later became Uncle Albert in Only Fools and Horses. And before that, he worked for 40 years as a bank manager at the NatWest Bank in Thames Ditton over in Surrey. And for many years he was a bank manager and a frustrated actor. And when he got the parts of Uncle Albert in Only Fools and Horses in 1985, he eventually became an actor who frustrated his bank manager. Funny how the world works sometimes, isn't it? But yes, this is Battersea in all its scenic nighttime evening glory. Also Battersea being the birthplace of another actor called Gareth Hunt, who played the part of Mike Gambit in the New Avengers back in the 1970s. And in the 1980s he did those Nescafe coffee adverts, where he used to shake his hand and the coffee beans magically came out of his hand. So that's Battersea's connection with the TV and drama and acting fraternity. It was where Buster Merrifield and Gareth Hunt were born back in the day. Although I'm not sure if Buster Merrifield and Gareth Hunt ever got to meet each other, but they might have done, you never know. Now we're coming up to Aldwych Bridge Road on the right hand side at this junction. We've got the Lighthouse pub coming up on the left hand side just by these traffic lights. So that's the Lighthouse pub over there on the left hand side. Aldwych Bridge is up that way. You might see it a little bit of Aldwych Bridge in the distance. Yep, just a bit with its distinctive fairy lights and stuff. There's the Lighthouse pub. Nice pub to have a few drinks and a few bites to eat with friends. Over on the right hand side, that's the famous Battersea almshouses, dating from the 1600s, and they were recently restored back in the mid-2000s. So that's the Battersea Almshouses complex. We're now coming up to the Latchmere Junction, this crossroads here, named after the Latchmere pub, which is this pub just on the left, just by the traffic lights. If you turn left at this junction, that takes you towards Clapham Junction, and if you turn right at this junction, that takes you towards Battersea Bridge and Chelsea. But we're going straight on. I like it when we go straight on, saves a lot of time and trouble. So this building coming up on the left hand side is the Latchmere pub, and it's also got a small theatre in the first floor. So that's the Latchmere pub there, that's Latchmere Road down there, where it's home to a famous railway bridge where a few double-decker buses have lost their roofs because it's a low bridge. But bus drivers still occasionally drive there regardless that it's a low bridge. And a few choice words are said before when the bus hits the bridge. And when the bus comes out of the bridge the other side, it becomes an open topper for obvious reasons. Now very shortly we're about to pass under another railway bridge. This railway bridge in front of us here, which carries the West London line from Clapham Junction to the likes of Imperial Wharf, West Brompton and Kensington Olympia, where it's host to London Overground train services, as well as various freight services that cross through West London. So at this junction here we've got Falcon Road, which goes off to our left towards Clapham Junction. We're going straight on, so we're now going into what's called York Road. So this road here is called York Road. It doesn't take us to York, but it's just called York Road because, well, someone decided to call it York Road. Not to be confused with the York Road in Waterloo, where we travelled down about 20 minutes ago. But I digress, you know me with my waffle. I can waffle for England. If people want me to waffle for England, I can do that. Coming up on the right hand side, that's Lombard Road. That's Lombard Road down there. That takes you towards the London Battersea Heliport Terminal, where all the rich people land and take off in their helicopters. Coming up on the right hand side we've got the former Price's Candle Factory, which is now a luxury bedding development and stuff like that. So that's the old Price's Candles factory. This junction up ahead, this is the junction with Plough Road, so that's Plough Road that comes off on the left hand side. We go straight on as always. Plough Road, that takes you towards Clapham Junction, but we don't want to go down Clapham Junction at this time of the night because it's a bit bland and boring. Apologies to anyone in Clapham Junction who says my remarks are boring, but once all the trains have gone, it's nothing else exciting there. And the lights change from red and amber to green. So that's Plough Road down there, or as I refer to it as Plough Road. So in the next 5 minutes we'll be heading back to our home base at Wandsworth Bus Garage. Hopefully they've left the gate open for us to go in. Yeah, so it's been a good day all round. As you can see, it's really dark now. It's been a good day, but it's getting a bit late now. And I'm feeling a bit peckish. Could do with some food inside me. So I think I'll go to the McDonald's and have a nice late night snack. The branch of McDonald's, which is located just over the road from Wandsworth Garage. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed this vlog. It's coming up to 47 minutes now. And there's still another 5 minutes or so remaining before we get back to Wandsworth Garage. Hope you've enjoyed this little ride with me on board RM371. RM371, which has featured in a few TV adverts in its time. We're coming up to the Wandsworth Bridge roundabout now, along with that famous sculpture thing in the middle. So that's Wandsworth Bridge roundabout there. On the left hand side is the railway bridge that takes you on the railway line from London Waterloo out towards Putney and Richmond. Got the C3 bus in front of us, turning right on its way towards Wandsworth Bridge and Earl's Court. So that's the branch of McDonald's that I go to now and again to have a late night snack or some late night dinner. Fills the gap. And then very shortly we shall be heading back into our home base at Wandsworth Bus Garage. Straight ahead is Swandon Way, that takes you into Wandsworth town centre itself. We're going to be turning right at this junction into Smugglers Way, and then we do another right turn into Wandsworth Bus Garage. So this is Smugglers Way, so we're turning right into Mile Road with the McDonald's on our right hand side, and we turn left into the confines of Wandsworth Bus Garage. There we are, there's Wandsworth Bus Garage straight in front of us. And we've got a nice clear road up ahead. So very shortly I shall be getting off the bus, giving it a good clean, as we head into the confines of Wandsworth Bus Garage, into the bus wash. There's RM371 creeping in on the left hand side, and it's Great British T-Bus Union Jack livery, along with RM1941 on the left hand side. So I'm going to stop this recording in a couple of minutes as I help reverse the bus back into the garage. So hope you enjoy this video, hope you enjoy this vlog, and I shall say ta for the like.